was thinking about to be a football player, whatever it cost.
Ronaldo!
The year was 1998. All eyes were on the World Cup in France.
Throughout the World Cup, the big breakfast will be live from France following the England and Scotland squads around.
But between the excitement of the tournament, one name always stood out: Ronaldo Nazario. At just the age of 21, he entered that World Cup as finest and most popular player on the planet.
Fazer coisas impressionantes com a bola, né?
By then, Ronaldo wasn't just a footballer, he was a global sensation. This iconic smile was already dominating billboards, buses, and even plastic bags. Ronaldo's image was everywhere. Brands started coming flying towards him, and that's when Nike released that iconic 3-minute ad featuring him and the whole Brazilian team. Of course, due to that ad, Ronaldo became the hot topic for obvious reasons. And it wasn't just the ad, to be honest, it was a proof that Ronaldo wasn't just a footballer. He was football's heartbeat, and the world was watching his every move. But even as he seemed unstoppable, fate had already begun to test his limits of his greatness. Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima was born on September 18, 1976 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Born in a middle-class family, his parents used to work tirelessly to support their family. And Ronaldo, at a very young age, used that support to channel his energy into football. By the age of 11, he was already turning heads at the local tournaments. His big break came at the age of 14 when he joined the youth setup at São Cristóvão. And at this club, his talent became impossible to ignore. And in 1993, at the age of just 16, he signed with the big Brazilian club, Cruzeiro. And just over in a year, Ronaldo was already dominating Brazilian league with his magical skills and fiery acceleration. His stardom was rising quickly, the world quickly noticed this prodigy, and Europe came knocking.
Breaking news from the world of football. Brazilian wonderkid Ronaldo, at just 17 years old, has completed his move to PSV Eindhoven.
Wie wordt de topscorer van Nederland? Kluivert of Ronaldo?
Ronaldo, natuurlijk.
En hoeveel doelpunten ga je maken?
30.
At the age of 17, Ronaldo joined the Dutch club PSV for around 5 million euros. In his debut season, he scored outstanding 35 goals in 36 games. Although by his standards, his second season was less successful for various reasons, even though he managed to score 19 goals in 21 games. But after this two incredible seasons in the Dutch league, he moved to Barcelona, where the world really saw an icon in making.
Bobby said, Frank, I have to be sure he can deliver. This is the most expensive player ever in a big club as Barcelona. I cannot go wrong here.
Ronaldo, miras un momentito.
Bobby, you know your job depends on this transfer. Bobby Robson claimed that he had never seen a player 20 years old have so much ability.
Best Ronaldo ever.
Although Ronaldo played just for a single season with Barcelona, but in that time, he dominated every opponent he faced. He was in excellent physical condition. If you watch his highlights, you will see his amazing footwork. Opponents tried to stop him by tackling, kicking, pushing, but it had no effect. He was incredibly strong and athletic.
Ronaldo is special. He was fast, intelligent, he could absolutely everything.
This iconic goal against Compostela was really the proof of it. The goal was so iconic that left world speechless and even made a calm man like Bobby Robson go crazy.
Oh my God, unbelievable what he did.
You know, the hands in the head.
This is unbelievable. This is not real.
He ended that season by scoring 47 goals in 49 games with Barcelona, which helped him to become the youngest player ever to win the FIFA Player of the Year award, which is now known as Ballon d'Or. But despite this iconic and incredible season, Ronaldo's time at Barcelona lasted just for a single season. Contract disputes between his agents and the club led to his departure. Some say the negotiations were deliberately sabotaged to force a move, while others claims it was purely financial. But whatever the reason is, Inter Milan capitalized on the situation, paid a world record fee of $27 million to sign this young superstar. And this move to Italy marked the next chapter of his career. A chapter where we saw the best of Ronaldo and maybe even the worst.
Sembra dire impossibile. Quello che parla di giocare seppur indirettamente altri derby con Fabio Capello. Insomma, è tutto vero. Ronaldo è un giocatore dell'Inter. Il popolo nero-azzurro è già in delirio.
I had the chance to play against some great champions, so I'd put Ronnie on the podium.
I prossimi anni, dopo aver risolto
It won't be wrong to say, at Inter Milan, Ronaldo Nazario showed us what a complete footballer looks like. Because if his time at Barcelona was all about taking the advantage of the spaces offered him by the embarrassed Paris defenders, then it was at Italy he became truly unstoppable. Operating in tighter spaces against some of the best defenders in the world, but still scoring 34 goals at the debut season in one of the toughest league at that time was pretty abnormal. And that's why people rightly started calling him El Fenomeno. And with such kind of form, he went to France for 1998's World Cup, where he dragged Brazil to final, but something wasn't just filling right.
The passions are running high. There is the Brazilian lineup at the start of this World Cup final. So much humming and erring over the possible participation or otherwise of Ronaldo, although outlandish stories continue to circulate.
Right before 1 hour to the final, the team sheets were handed to the commentators by stewards as usual. To everyone's shock, Ronaldo's name was not there in it. See, the notion that he won't be playing final was simply unthinkable. For context, just imagine Argentina playing in a World Cup final, but Messi been dropped without any prior indication. It would be catastrophic. But around half an hour later, the updated lineup sheets were handed where Ronaldo was playing. But no one explained why he was excluded at the first place. But it wasn't several years later that Ronaldo agreed that he had experienced seizure just the night before final.
The final was one of the most incredible days in World Cup history. What happened?
I had a conversion after the lunch, and I was inconscient for 3-4 minutes.
Do you know why you had this convulsion, this fit?
No. And nobody knows.
No one knew why and how this happened. Theories began to start popping up.
Was the illness caused by pain-killing injections?
Reportedly, Brazil's players had received a total of $23 million.
Some say it was Nike, Brazil's main sponsor, who pressurized Brazil to play Ronaldo because billions of euros were riding on Ronaldo's back. Some said the seizure was the result of the weight that he was carrying on his shoulders because at the age of 21, at that World Cup, he was already the superstar, the talisman of that Brazilian team, where the world had all the eyes on him, which wasn't something normal for a 21-year-old, and that's why it can be mentally draining. Anyways, what later happened in the final was the humiliating loss of Brazil to France. The 1998 final was definitely a low point for him, but his career was about to take a devastating turn just a year later.
Tragedy struck on a greasy San Siro pitch.
Career-ending injury. It's absolutely terrible to see him like this.
In 1994, when he was still playing with PSV, he was diagnosed with Osgood-Schlatter disease, a knee pain that kept Ronaldo out for majority of his time at the second season with PSV. And just a year later, after 1998's World Cup, the pain came back haunting him. On November 1999, while playing for Inter against Leeds, Ronaldo ruptured the tendon in his right knee. For any professional athlete, a knee injury can be devastating because the psychological toll can be as crippling as the physical damage. But remarkably, just 5 months later, somehow Ronaldo was back on the pitch. It was the first leg of Coppa Italia final against Lazio. 7 minutes in, he picked up the ball and drive forward. And it looked like Ronaldo that everyone remembered was back. But he wasn't. Not really. As he feinted on his right side, planting his foot to push forward, his knees gave out. He collapsed instantly. The sights of him screaming as he grabbed his right knee, lying on the ground, was heartbreaking. And as he was stretched off from the pitch, football fans saw in disbelief as it's one of the brightest stars disappearing into darkness.
The diagnosis wasn't good. In fact, it was horrific. As word spread of the latest and perhaps saddest chapter in Ronaldo's young career, some began to question whether the two-time Player of the Year would ever return to football.
Sometimes I look back and I think about the operations, when I was lying in a hospital bed and blood was pouring from my knee. I think of that time and the pain, and it gives me strength.
This was the quote shared by Ronaldo himself just before the 2002 World Cup's final, which caught many by surprise because that knee injury sidelined him nearly for 2 years and was meant to be the end of his career. Yet somehow he returned, not just to play but dominate. It's hard to imagine a comeback like Ronaldo's. 7 league goals in just 10 games right up to horrific injury and then a place in World Cup squad. Unbelievable.
It was unquestionably one of the great stories of the World Cup, but perhaps the most heartwarming was the re-emergence after 4 years of injury of one of the greatest talents the game has ever seen.
We're about to start the World Cup
By carrying that iconic triangular haircut, he scored 8 goals in 2002's World Cup, including 2 in the final against Germany as Brazil claimed their 5th World Cup title.
Brazil win the World Cup, and Ronaldo, the woebegone figure of 4 years ago, is now a World Cup winner.
Ronaldo's performance earned him a Golden Boot and the second Ballon d'Or of his career. Although Ronaldo was changed, the dazzling runs from the midfield were gone due to injuries. Instead, he mastered the final 30 yards, a new road but just as deadly, proving that greatness evolves but never fades.
This is huge. Ronaldo Nazario has completed his move to Real Madrid.
After an impressive comeback, Ronaldo joined Real Madrid for 46 million euros. His jersey sales skyrocketed, breaking records on the very first day. Ronaldo's move to Real Madrid in 2002 marked the peak of Galactico's era, following the move of Luis Figo, Zinedine Zidane, and the year before David Beckham. And Ronaldo, as usual, was outstanding, scoring 60+ goals in his debut season. Plus, that hat-trick at Old Trafford might have been the peak of Ronaldo's Real Madrid days. But after that, Ronaldo Nazario's influence began to diminish. The constant knee injuries took their toll and his weight began to increase massively. The decline of Galactico's era prompted Real Madrid to hire a strict manager like Fabio Capello, which led to Ronaldo's departure to AC Milan. Ronaldo's time at AC Milan wasn't that flashy, but one moment always captured who truly he was. In March 11, 2007, while facing Inter Milan, the club that made him the superstar but now was being booed by its own fans, well, Ronaldo didn't give a shit. 40 minutes in, he unleashed 25-yard rocket into the bottom corners, silencing the crowd, to which he later told that he just wanted to make most of the people happy and that was enough for him. But a month later, his knees again gave out, ending his European career just at the age of 31. And also at the same point of time, he was in the headlines for many different scandals which damaged his public image. And then he later on went to Brazil, played with Corinthians and helped them win the league title. But his knees couldn't stand anymore, and that's why on 2011 he announced his retirement. And over the course, when you look back at his career, you realize he never got a chance to explode. Every time he reached to a peak, his career went downhill rapidly. Yet to everyone's surprise, he always managed to fight back and prove why he was been called El Fenomeno. Because over the period of time when football started valuing stats over spectacles, his magic on the pitch was been overshadowed by the cold, unrealistic numbers which were been set by these two guys. Ronaldo's career, as great it was, it doesn't fit into today's stacked narrative of greatness. We still should be considering ourselves very lucky that we were able to witness Messi and Ronaldo era, but these both guys had their luck by their side, their body by their side. But in the case of Ronaldo, it was completely different. But yet, every time he went down, he somehow miraculously managed to fight back and get up, making it as one of the most outstanding achievements in the sporting history. His body kept failing, but it was his love for the football that he always was able to produce those glorious moments which still inspire people to this day. As the Latin said, nobody has influenced both football and players like Ronaldo Nazario.
I would say he's the best. That's it.
For me, he was not playing football, he was football.
Brazilian Ronaldo has been from a different species.
Even though Ronaldo Nazario or R9 doesn't top every GOAT list of Gen Z people like us, maybe because of his injuries, controversies, or his physical condition in the later stages of his career, or the fact that his prime coincided with the stats-driven era. But if you ask anyone who saw him play supper and still managed to get back up and kept doing his magic on the pitch, they will always tell you that there was no one like Ronaldo, and in that sense, he was truly phenomenal.